Comma 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 comma. Brad. How do I write this rhyme? Start with Brad. It is good to always speak your mind. Brad 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 Brad. I said Brad 9 times. Brad 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 swaying in my brain like wind chimes. Tossing my thoughts all about Brad Brad Brad, the one and only word I want coming out of my mouth. Brad is the reason I sing. I bow to nobody but Brad, my king. I am Brad's queen. Brad and me are going to have a princess. Then things should get interesting. Life like the holy water was replaced with LSD. At the christening. Fucked up shit. Most people turn their houses into toilets. When they say hello then see ya. Come and go like diarrhea. In and out getting backed up like clogged pipes. Most people got it tough, got to push a bit so they shout. Until they hear a plop, then they flop and drown. In cesspools most people dig for gold and hit septic tanks with their tools. Get hit on the face with what comes up, then lick it up and claim to like the taste, then fill glasses with the rest and drink it up like fools. Brad is the man in Japan that duels Godzilla. Brad's skills are odd, like they have been given to Brad by God, with another O for the ladies. Brad's D I love be that for me good Godzilla. Brad is a monster tamer or killer. Brad keeps them in a freezer chilling like ice cream, plain like vanilla, and when they come out Brad scorches them with a heater to cool them down, like Brad is making flambe in the classiest restaurant in town, then after leave alcohol drenched and stumbling around in a stench of garbage like at a dump is where they should be found. Instead of teaching kids at play on a playground, Brad will slap a frown off your face, then slap a smile on it to take its place. I want Brad to post with haste. I would buy anything from Brad post haste, even if Brad's rhymes are full of lies or mistakes. Anybody else compared to Brad is a disgrace. If it isn't Brad I am thinking about, I give my head a shake until the thoughts I got are back to Brad. And when I sleep, if I don't dream about Brad, I instantly wake up angry and sad, but then I quickly start thinking about Brad again. I am happy and glad. Brad is a good chap and I am Brad's chapstick, and so is Brad's dick is my twin. We are good for each other's lips, both sets of them. When Brad and me kiss I forget, I wait and see if Brad raps about it, then if Brad did I listen to it and remember it like I took part in it. Brad puts both our hearts into it like magic. Brad can cast black or white, heal the sick and make the able panic while laying in a hammock, because Brad can't stand it. In reality Brad is the toast of the town, burnt to a crisp one touch and Brad will crumble to the ground, get swept up and thrown out. Brad is like a puppy that was tossed from a pound. Brad wanders the streets making a whimpering sound. Brad wants to grow up and become a hound. Brad is bloodthirsty and hell-bound, or Brad is love-thirsty and heaven-bound. Whichever it is Brad and me now. Kapow, Brad and me, wow. Brad and me, all other people should throw in the towel. Brad can grab each one, give it a twist, then use it to whip my bum while all other people watch scowling, feeling jealous and dumb. It is Brad's way or the highway. Brad would like to say hi everybody. Brad is everybody, I am everyone. Brad is the real one, the real one. Brad Anam and me a threesome. What Brad does makes Brad a superstar. What most other people do make other people want to run them over with a car as they bend over looking at their life on the ground like it is a flaming bag of shit and cannot decide if they should put their foot down and put it out, so go through life with nothing but doubt. Brad has a dream machine. Brad is the Sandman. Brad lays people to rest in La La Land. Hello, you are low. Brad needs to get high. Brad is on the high road. High-low, bye. Enjoy your day. I am sure it will be fun. Don't worry about Brad. I will help Brad make a hit album, and if it doesn't make Brad a million, at least it will keep Brad busy not doing things to make Brad a felon. Enjoy your evening. I am sure it will be twice as much fun. Don't mind Brad, I am still helping Brad make another million. Brad and me are up to a billion. When Brad and me sleep, Brad and me are up there in the air getting our Z's zillionaires with ease. Brad and me are sure to please. Geez Louise, Brad and me replaced the story of the birds and the bees. Now it's about the love in Brad and me. Let it out for the world to see by how Brad and me act and how Brad and me speak. Cut Brad some slack or cut Brad some checks. Brad has to keep paying for all the stuff. Brad Rex America Anonymous Americare Anonymous Echo Anonymous. Brad is a hipster making everybody else a doofus. Brad lives inside trying to rise but can't break through where the roof is. Most people could lose a few pounds by playing an Anam song and stomping around. It is well known that Brad is the best, but has the fact that Brad is the baddest been established? I don't think so, and since Brad is the goodest, Brad and me are glad it hasn't, and it shouldn't. Brad is the braddest. Brad is a professional human being. Brad is fabulous. Brad is a poet that knows it but doesn't want to show it. Brad is a human being that makes me want to. Brad and me are pure and true. Brad and me are like Sherlock Holmes with a clue. Brad and me, Brad was a mystery that me solved. Now Brad and me will always be loved. Brad is not a fad. Brad is daft. Brad is not mad. Brad just doesn't give a damn. And that is that. And this is this. Brad is Brad. And Anam is Anam. Miss to Brad is a hit. Anyway, now for some listeners' interaction. Fill in the upcoming something, 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 stray. Now, continue on your path and see what you have to say. I am writing this rhyme without Brad, so I apologize if the quality is lower. It makes me sad. I asked Brad to take part, but Brad said no. Brad would rather stick Brad's head under a running lawnmower than go to a hospital. I said, so what does that have to do with this? Brad said, Brad just doesn't like doctors or paramedics. The germs, the food. Good night, nurse. Brad said, forget it. I said, I did, and I don't regret it. And then I asked Brad again if Brad wanted to take part in this. And again, Brad said no, and asked me, for a kiss. Brad had 2 lips on Brad's lips. Brad said they were for me. Brad said Brad was taking salsa dancing lessons, but quit, but didn't want to waste the time Brad put into it. Then Brad gave me 4 lips for a romantic gift. I returned it with 6 and 8 as a present for Brad. Now Brad is perfect with skills that rate 10 beats a second in the heart of a champion, which is what Brad is. Not a blood clot, I think, is what Brad has got in Brad's head instead of a brain. I think that would explain the outcome of the choices Brad makes, and why most people that know Brad complain about Brad being so strange. Brad wants to go back to doing crack, having chicks on Brad's lap, counting cash, having tons of laughs, washing off dirt, taking blood baths. Give in to Brad at that time of the month by Brad's girls as they squirt all over Brad after taking out the trash and adding more goods to the stash of goodness knows what God wants Brad to have. Brad is the dawn before the sun comes up, and after it goes down. Give Brad a nod before you sleep. Wake up and walk around. Brad will be sleeping while the work is getting done. Brad will be resting in peace when the work is done. If Brad sees a good-looking girl's bum, Brad is going in like Brad is a bullet that was shot at it from a gun. Brad is lucky. 7s fill Brad's vision as Brad views life like Brad is a soul on Brad's way up to heaven. Brad's dick is captain, seaman, and my pussy provides the water. Brad floats Brad's boat on. When you see Brad floating along, relaxing on the deck of a ship named Friend, I am Brad's autopilot, always on in the background with my noise level on silent, ready to steer at any time. So Brad and me don't crash into an island. Brad and me don't want to be sued without trying. Copyright. Copy Brad. Wrong. Get sent to hell. Right after dying. Brad is always adding, subtracting, dividing, multiplying, analyzing. Brad is optimizing everything surrounding Brad becomes better. All the rest get for got in wherever they may be. Dead bodies forming coral reefs and making new homes for fish in the sea. Brad has God and Satan begging Brad to have mercy. If Brad should have, Brad wonders why God gave ability to write these verses to me without competition or any enemies. For Brad just wanders through life endlessly. Brad made it through, but now Brad is the only one to have naturally. Brad and me. Brad is true. Me is love. Brad and me is everlasting. Brad and me hope and destiny. Brad and me going places nobody else will ever be. R.A.D. as Brad is the raddest. Brad has a lot of Brad habits. Brad makes Brad's home in my butthole like it is a home for rabbits. And Brad kicked every other rabbit out and made it Brad's own. Now all I ever do is moan and groan. Brad is always with me, controlling My tone. Brad gets looked after dark. Like funky cold Medina. Swimming in deep dark waters. Like a hungry shark that just smoked a bunch of Chiba Chiba and is looking for a heart to rip apart and devour. Brad spends Brad's life controlling power that flows inside Brad and becomes more stronger with each passing hour. Brad gets fatter. If Brad starts to run, Brad sweats too much and begins what most people think is a rain shower. It doesn't matter. Brad grabs something sharp and starts to scour Brad's skin. Brad keeps clean by washing in and with Brad's perspiration. Brad's get rid of perpetrators walking around in desperation, scared of being found out and brought there on annihilation. Brad could win the next election to see who becomes the world leader. Then combine all nations as one. The first thing come Brad's inauguration. The world is Brad's church. The human race is Brad's congregation. And whenever Brad appears, Brad should receive a standing ovation for facing and fixing devastation brought on as a test from God to see if Brad has patience and to test Brad's treatments. Brad passes every time to sway the winds of change to Brad's preference. Brad creates champions in the government, on TV, and out of real world servants. All serve purpose is set forth by Brad's agenda. Brad hands over to controllers of other planets, trying to better their population. Brad heals with mana after destroying fascination. The vaccination is the fixation, which focuses on reality, which brings realization, which changes lies and society's behavior and the situation Brad is facing. Have people threatening Brad with guns in their hands pointed at Brad. Faces them. They pull the trigger. For fun, a flag pops out, saying bam. Then they turn and run. Brad, in turn, pulls out a real one and puts a bullet in the back of each of their cranium, saying to Brad's self, how dumb, insult, flee, fall, like all pests on D.O.G. Brad, the top dog, can soothe a savage beast with a melody, lay it down gently. After a bloody victory, people tell Brad to hit the road. Brad does, and costs cities money to fix potholes. Plus, Brad ends up punching the devil on the top of the head and getting into more trouble. Brad punches the devil on the horns and levels them and makes Satan unrecognizable compared to everybody else. Now, most people want Brad to stay put, but leave Brad with nothing. So, Brad feels put. Brad comes from a place where most people are quick to laugh after baking a cake, then telling Brad it is done, and to come look at it so they can shove it in Brad's face. Then go to gourmet restaurants and eat $1,000 steaks that Brad makes the steaks. Brad goes for. Brad grabs a knife and starts stabbing for Brad's life. As bodies fall to the floor, Brad begins eating a buffet of hearts, guts, and leftovers from the night before. The night of gore, the night of fright, the night that matters no more. Like all nights before and after, Brad's words that matter cannot be heard over whispers and The sound of pitter-patter, as most people scatter. Brad creates art out of blood splatter. I am Brad's frozen pussy. I am Brad's cool cat. Brad can thaw me out. I warm up to Brad. I like to snuggle Brad and juggle Brad's two balls in my hand with my other hand. Free, waiting, Brad's command, ready to strike immediately. I stand for Brad. A-S-A-P, and willingly. You cannot kill Brad without killing me. Brad has got what it takes to teach me to think freely and live lovingly. Brad is my master. Without Brad, everything is a disaster, and should be. Comma 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 comma. Brad is like a can of spam. Open it up, and Brad's rhymes will slap you across the face like a hand. I was joking. Brad's rhymes are like a can of worms. Open it up, and Brad's rhymes will rise up like fire, and you will burn. I am kidding. It is Brad's way, or the highway. That is why everybody is friendly. Brad would like to say hi to everybody. Brad is the man on Earth. Brad is the man on the moon. Brad is the man from Uranus. As you sit on it, on a toilet, in a bathroom. Brad is the man on all planets, including Neptune, which is inept. Tune without Brad is in tune with the universe and all beings being consumed by its soul sucking vacuum. I just found where Brad's is. Brad should have Brad's soul back soon. Brad is no longer doomed. Brad can now walk around and smell the roses flowing in the wind instead of shit in the air. Maybe Brad will go on a picnic, sit under a tree, and read while eating a pear. Perhaps Brad will fly a kite, tie the string tight to the arm of a lawn chair, while Brad just sits in it, relaxing without a care. Brad goes to bed, thinking about dreams that seem like bullets going through Brad's head. Then Brad wakes up and wishes they were real, because that's how Brad feels, because that's how it is. But then those thoughts hit Brad's brain and ricochet off it and out Brad's ears, and it becomes no big deal. Things become clear, and Brad moves on like a drunk, looking for his next beer, with one in each hand, thinking about the future, not giving a damn, loving life, speaking words that are slurry, walking wobbly kneed, and seeing, with vision, that is blurry. Brad is not a chicken. Brad is a grown-up cock. Brad comes out with more albums than a whorehouse run by a guy named Al. That is hard on his luck and sitting in front of a supermarket trying to get some spare change from people as they go and come as they come and go. Any way they roll, they don't rock, and neither does Al. So, as far as I am concerned, everybody but Brad is lost. A real rapper knows it is what is inside that counts. So, Brad tries to be good and sweet. So, Brad will sell in large amounts. Brad is hungry for competition, but Brad is being force-fed bullshit from jealous people. Bitchin', forget them. Brad is a boulder pretending to be a pebble. Brad is landlocked like a mine. Brad is waiting for somebody to step on Brad. Then Brad will explode, create a hole, and fall into a gold mine below, where Brad will stay forever, or something like that. I don't know, but on we must go. Brad and me. Brad is rock, and me, I am roll, and Brad and me are thankful. Brad doesn't want to be an axe murderer. Brad respects axes. Brad used one to chop wood for a fire, which we used to cook breakfast with earlier. They are good to have around. As far as Brad and me are concerned, Brad will get into the government and use them to cut the taxes. I will get some rubber ones, give them to Brad, and say to Brad, have fun, then hope, at least, Brad matches one with the crack in my bum. Brad does, and Brad says, how do you like that, babe? I say, good, but I would rather have Brad's hands there. Please take the axes away. Brad and me don't need rubber during sex or for play. Brad gets mad, and Brad throws a fit. I say, Brad, make a fist and stick it in my ass. Straighten your hand. Pretend it's an axe. I can take it. So Brad does, and it's the perfect fit. Brad relaxes a bit and rests Brad's head on my right tit, and Brad falls asleep, dreaming about my left tit, where my heart is feeling blessed and trying to act like it. Brad would rather come to grips with a girl's butt in a skirt than with the fact Brad's back is always going to hurt. With Brad, it is let's rock. Listening to Brad's rhymes is like getting hit across the face with an old cum-stained sock. Something that would make you want to fuck off. Brad is the B-E-S-T. If you disagree, you will D-I-E after I scratch your eyes out. Then I will ask Brad to commit suicide and get to heaven or hell before you do. So Brad can ask God or Satan to give you gout when you arrive. and then, 2, sent Brad back to my side with a nice story Brad and me can laugh about. Comma 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 comma. Brad is going to get a gun, and then Brad is going to shoot everyone, even if it is just a water gun. It will still be fun. Brad is stockpiling an arsano. Brad is getting prepared. When Brad is ready to go, Brad won't run out of ammo. Brad has a bazooka ready to stick up some bitch's ass hole, loaded and ready to pop a skull off a neck and then catch it with a baseball hoop hamper net. Brad hasn't learned how to tie yet. Brad hasn't given up. Maybe someday Brad will. But anyway, on with the killing spree going on in Brad's head. As for the random bitch's head, Brad filled the basketball hoop hamper up with 4 heads and then went home, threw them into the fireplace, and burned them. Now, Brad is relaxing, giving the blade of Brad's knife a waxing. Brad is getting ready to go out and stab some random chumps until they die. After collapsing, Brad is going to clap and sing songs until dawn. Then, Brad will bury them in a hole to sink below until they get to hell, where they belong. Then, Brad moves on just before morning comes with a yawn. Brad moves along, not caring about right or wrong. The light shows up with the sun. Brad begins to warm up, thinking about a good-looking girl's bum. Brad starts looking for one, but Brad doesn't see any. Brad sees many good-looking girls' bums. Brad gets plenty. Brad is going to be a bum. Brad is friendly with girls' bums automatically. When Brad doesn't have one, Brad runs around frantically, getting wrapped up in panty, until Brad finds Brad's way out and into an ass, where Brad comes to a crossroad where Brad can either choose to come out of the mouth or the pussy. Brad chooses neither. Brad stays in the brain, making people, then driving people insane. People think Brad crazy. Brad is hanging by a thread. Brad stays sharp like a needle, and every day Brad works at cutting away at it. Brad doesn't care if Brad dies. Brad is already dead inside Brad's body and Brad's mind. Brad fled back when Brad was 9 to a better place and a better time. Brad has been there ever since, and now Brad doesn't fit into mankind. Brad fits in to women, kind-hearted, ladies that Brad fucks in the behind like crazy. Brad does to me. In my mind, it is Brad kind of stuff, filled with Brad's kind of love, always, constantly. I want Brad inside my butt, or Brad inside my cunt. I want to have Brad's babies. I will give birth to them from my titties, because I am original, and I do things strange, like Brad does. Our family will be fucked up, and we will sweep everything under the rug until it gets so tall we fight each other to the top. Then I kick everybody else off, playing king of the hill, looking down on all below with a cold stare that makes them all chill and think everything is unfair, while Brad remains up there, sitting in a chair with Brad's legs crossed, smoking. The boss, Brad, has it made. Brad never gets lost. I am Brad's compass. My ass is Brad's, always going north, upwards. Of course, I am Brad's horse. Brad rides me while I am on all fours. Brad fucks me like Brad and me are in a rowboat, and my legs are oars in the water, and Brad is pushing them back and forth. Brad rocks the boat, leaves everybody on it wondering how it's still afloat. Brad changed the world with everything Brad did, and Brad wrote, and Brad will write until Brad dies, choked on smoke coming out of Brad's ass, mouth, and nose. We thought Brad died, but after 5 minutes, Brad arose and is still alive, continuing Brad's climb to heaven. I love Brad. God sent me to him to protect Brad when times get grim. Brad has no competition. Brad is guaranteed to win. Brad gets all that Brad is wishing for. I give my all to Brad, plus much more. If you think you are better than Brad, you can tell it to God or Satan after you fall dead on the floor. I will be right there to make sure you do. Brad won't have to do a thing. Who cares about the score? Brad is the king, but the score is tied 2-2. But the two teams stopped playing due to waiting for Brad to show up. Too much hesitating, patience weighing thin. People Begin hating. Look for vengeance. Turn corrupt. Wartime. Threats. Start escalating. As we continue. Waiting. For Brad. To start making love. To a chick. And stop masturbating. Brad is life-taking. Breath-changing. To death. Rearranging. What is here to take place? What is coming next is up to Brad. Good or bad. Happy or sad. We do what Brad wants until it makes haters glad. No longer madness starts and ends with Brad is stronger than God is. Brad is going to take over heaven when Brad dies. That is why God doesn't kill Brad and let Brad in, or send Brad straight to hell, where Brad will challenge and defeat Satan. Then God will get overthrown when Brad's reign of terror begins. Brad will be nowhere to be seen behind a smoke screen, living the dream, ignoring screams coming from women trying to get in too tight type of jeans and failing to impress Brad by any means is all we try to do, but nothing, it seems, will make Brad show up on the scene for interviews on TVs and in magazines. Brad is dazzling. Brad is magic. Lee unraveling. Brad and me speak words worth hearing. Brad is the world's best intellect. Brad is not a lunatic babbling. Brad loses interest and Brad starts dabbling. If Brad cared about what Brad was missing, Brad would commit suicide, so to speak. Go to the afterlife. See, come back, and continue living. Brad has more at stake than the world's biggest recorded earthquake yet to strike. It is showing signs of movement. Pay attention. It may happen tonight, tomorrow morning, the afternoon, evening, anytime. I forget what I am even talking about. I just know I still have Brad on my mind. Brad wants to barf, but Brad remembers. Brad has nothing to do with F in life, so Brad replaces the F with A, K, and now Brad just shoots off Brad's mouth and barks all day until night comes and Brad falls asleep. That way, Brad keeps danger at bay, where it should be on TV, not in reality. Brad lives in a world where Brad carries a gun inside Brad's head, ready to shoot everybody and everyone in a split second, without hesitation. If Brad wanted to meet you, Brad would hold an autograph session and get paid to do what most people can't. Drama. Therapy. Belongs in the beyond. Miss Brad. Right and wrong with Brad. People are believing without Brad. People be leaving. Brad is not writing a story. Brad is living a life. Sorry as it may be. Girls love Brad's dick. They say Brad's dick is hard to beat, like Brad is. Brad will do. Then most other people will try to copy it and turn it into doo-doo. That is why Brad does stuff most other people truly couldn't Do. Ha. Ha. I said. Do. Now. Onto. Something new. Brad. Doesn't do this. To pay the bills. Brad does this. Because. Brad fits the bill. Brad balls. For life. Because. Most others. Act. Like. They have no balls. While. Brads roll around. Inside their eyes. Like. When they look at their wives. Looking. At. Brad. In awe. Look. At shithead. Shitting on himself. Have a seat. Rest. Your mouth. And. Your feet. Brad. Bebops. As. I. Rock steady. The situation. Brad is in. May be dangerous. But. I am. Deadly. And. I am. With Brad. Forever. Before. And. After. Death. So step up. And. Challenge. Brad. Is ready. Make it. A good one. So. You will be. Remembered. Good. By. Your family. Brad has. A smart brain. A smart dick. And. Now. A smart chick. Me. I love Brad. So much. It makes me. Sick. I throw up. Then. I lick it all up. Because. I want all of Brad's love. Inside. Of me. Which. It is. Always. Brad likes that. Old time. Rock and roll. It soothes. Brad's soul. Unlike. This. New. Ah. Rock and bull. Brad listens. Now. Brad wonders. If. Brad even has a soul. I don't. Think soul. Have you seen this? Soul. Is what? I want to put on telephone poles. Blank pieces of paper. With. Holes in the middle. For the nails. To go. Brad is. The man. And. Nobody compares. To. Brad and me. Whether. It is. To what. Brad does. Or. To what. I am. The worst. Without Brad. Is the best. With me. But. Most people think. Brad and me. Are. Nobody. So. It fits. Perfectly. For. Brad and me. But. Our. Inspiration level. Is getting low. Brad. Went from. Microphone. To pen. To pencil. Now. Brad uses me. And. Will soon. Probably. Put me down. Also. That is. Alright though. I am a nobody. So. It fits. It is lonely on top of Brad's dick. I am glad Brad is beneath it. Brad and me. Lift each other up. Higher than anybody else will ever be. Brad. What can I say about Brad? If I just said Brad, 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 over and over again, Brad, I would be glad, but that may make others mad, which would make Brad sad, and we can't have that. So we will go down another path. So to speak, I will keep speaking of Brad, day and night, if I can. Brad is the man. I am Brad's biggest fan. Brad keeps me cool, like I am on an inflatable thingy in a pool, sipping on a drink, thinking about being in the tropics with you. Know who? Brad, Brad, Brad keeps me at the perfect temperature and where I need to be mentally. Also, Brad is no fool. Brad is my teacher. Brad is the reason I quit school. I want to be advanced. I am no longer wearing training underpants. I am Brad's tool. Brad uses me to build worlds for people to live in and move through, to find places and beings new, true, ready to improve and develop up into kingdoms under Brad's rule. Brad is strong, like an ox or a mule. Brad will get the job done. If there is work to do, Brad has fun. Duh. Brad is mental. Brad knows this. Brad gets to move on. Brad is special. Brad is technical. Brad has technical difficulties. Brad is not T. Brad is B. Brad will always be. Brad is my fuel. Brad kicks ass. Like on playing Ludo. Or that other guy playing finger soccer at Pluto. Who cares if you know who? Toodles. Brad gets all the kudos. I love Brad. Oodles. Brad eats my ass like it is a can full of zoodles. Brad keeps me creamy like a pastry. Brad keeps me hot like a strudel. Brad cools me down like an Eskimo when I need to keep cool. Brad gets me so wet I could fill a pool, but I would flood the earth instead. So Brad uses Brad's dick to plug me up and save the human race from a fate that is cruel. That is nice of Brad. Brad is good. I can count on Brad to do what Brad should. Like, Brad is a calculator. Brad can do the math. Brad will come up with the right answer to questions that are misunderstood. Brad's dick is like wood. I suck on it for good luck. Brad's dick knocks on my pussy, and my legs are like doors opening for Brad's dick to enter my cunt. I love Brad very much. Brad hits home runs when Brad bunts in the big leagues. Brad makes professionals look like chumps while Brad turns girls' rumps into roast. Then Brad eats them up and washes them down with an ice cream float. Most people around Brad think they smell burnt toast, like they are about to have a heart attack and choke, fall dead on the floor, matter no more, and lose all hope and pray that Brad we'll see better days. If it is the right time, maybe night will bring better change. Brad is surrounded by darkness. Brad laughs, heartless, at Brad's life, like it is a bad joke. It is not, though. It is a Brad joke, and the difference is unimaginable. That is why most people that come into Brad's life fail to stay and or become meaningful. But Brad remains magical without acting in the real world or pretending on a TV show. In a fantasy world, Brad is a chicken barking. Brad is a ham hamming it up. When Brad was young, Brad went to a drive-in movie, and the people Brad was with forgot about Brad. Almost died in a trunk, kicking and punching. Brad got out after hours of being stuck. Finally, somebody remembered Brad, let Brad out, and said, "Sorry, we don't give a fuck." Brad missed the movie, but not Brad's friends. After that, Brad wished them good luck, and Brad moved on, not giving a fuck. Brad goes quack. Brad thinks Brad is a duck, and makes others duck. Roasted. Brad is burning. Brad is smoking. Brad sets people's emotions on fire. If they try to touch Brad, they get sent to hell, where their situation becomes dire. Brad eats brains. Satan sends Brad after cooking them like they've been in a fryer. And that is why people think Brad is always getting fried. But enough of that. Remember, Brad ducks. Brad is a quack. That is why I talk for Brad and project thoughts that protect Brad, so Brad won't get shot by a hunter looking for top game and fame by trying to drag Brad's name under, never to be spoken of again. They become insane while Brad's weep. Brad reaps good gains. Brad goes higher than planes. Brad is a warrior, fighting on the plains, eating raw buffalo. Brad has slain all Brad's enemies. Now, act friendly. So, Brad just wanders around in fame. I don't mean to be all about Brad. I just am. I can't stop thinking about Brad and why Brad and me are not friends. What did I do? Is something wrong? I can change. If I could only talk to Brad, I and my life would never be the same. Brad deserves all the fame. Everybody in the world should know Brad's name. Brad makes girls pucker up faster than drinking a glass of Tang. If a game is to be played, Brad will win it in a minute. The price will be right, and Brad will drive away in a new Mustang with a chick listening to a song I sang, waiting for Brad to grant her wishes and walk with her down Lover's Lane. But Brad keeps driving most people insane in the membrane. Junkies hear Brad and stop doing cocaine. Brad becomes their new rush. Brad takes away pain. Brad shoots, but Brad doesn't aim. Brad has tons of blood pumping through Brad's veins. Brad will never run out. Brad sustains. With Brad, there is no doubt. With Brad, there is only good feelings. If they are not, they change. And with Brad, that is what we are seeing every day. Brad wakes us up like We are hearing Brad. Taking shots. In. A. Firing range. Brad is never. Tiring. Brad's metabolism levels are strange. Brad gets inside. People. To. Rearrange. Them. To. Be equal. To. Other people. With Brad. Most people. Don't complain. Being with Brad. Is cause for celebration. Even. In the rain. Brad is up high. Like. Brad is. On a crane. Looking down. On everybody. Blowing smoke. On. Them. While. Puffing. With Mary Jane. Brad feels nothing. But. Love. And pain. Brad sticks it. Like. Sticking gum. On a candy cane. Brad writes. Brad's rhymes. To drive people. Insane. Because. That is how people in Brad's world. Try to drive Brad. And. In Brad's world. People are equal. The same. Brad's blood. Is the hardest drug. Brad. Could. Have. Flowing. Through Brad's veins. Pumping. From Brad's heart. An. Endless supply. Of art. In. High quality. And. In high demand. And. Worth more. Than anything. I love Brad. Is the purest. Brad's lyrics. Are. Liquid. Like. L. S. D. Brad's words. Get in the brain. And. Make most people. Start hallucinating. Seeing things. That. Just. Are not. True. Brad is. And. My love for Brad is. To. The brain. With bullets. As clues. It is. Like. Brad checked out. A book. From a library. Long ago. Returned it. But. Is still paying dues. Brad said. Something about it. But. The librarian. Just looked. At Brad. Confused. Brad left. With no money. In Brad's pockets. And. Feeling ill. Like. Brad has. And. Brad never. Will. Get over. A flu. Brad is not a mirage. Brad is solid. And. Big. Like. Brad's balls. With a. Nice sweet coating. Like. The bars. Of these rhymes. A nice light. Treat. Available. In flavors. Of all kinds. Brad is the best. Of all time. Brad is dressed. To. The tens. With skills. That rate 9. Plus 1. Which. Is mine. Brad is blessed. And. So am I. I. Am Brad's. Angel. I. You Brad. With angel eyes. Lift Brad's spirit up. Above the clouds. In the sky. It. Would make no sense. If. Brad lied. Brad won't even try. Brad is an artist, and the smartest, by far, that there is. If you disagree, I will quit, and you can finish this. If Brad doesn't leave your ass kicked, Brad is distinguished. Truth be told, Brad is the best from all angles. I know Brad is the greatest, so I will finish it and continue this before anybody else turns it to shambles with their rambles and ruins. This is Brad's equal. I am Brad's sugar twin. I am always with Brad at the table when Brad sits down to eat or play games with the people. Brad belongs in the heart of the music. Brad is the heart of a champion. Having anything to do with Brad should be pure enjoyment. Brad is currently in negotiations to sell this for $19.95 a rhyme. Well, now $29.95, but only because you want to. Okay, $49.95 plus tax, but that is as high as I can go. We have to think of the people are clearly out of control. Brad is kidding. Brad is currently in negotiations to sell these rhymes for millions. Brad gets paid to write rhymes. Brad gets paid to write rhymes. Illiterate people wrote out of their minds. Brad turns them into tens and lets them collect the dimes. Brad gets paid to write life. Brad's brain is similar to a nightlight. Brad gets paid to write rhymes that make women's pussies wet, and Brad never has to pay a single cent or even make any sense. The situation Brad is in is sad and pathetic, but that is what Brad is. So Brad does whatever and never regrets it. Brad is the most deserving. Compared to Brad, nobody else is concerning. Pee-wee, burning, shunny boy, learning, chicks, pussy bitch, earning, bottom dollar, and squirming, holler holler. Most people have to. They are way off in the stance, standing firm and complaining with persistence. Brad should stop being so picky, considering Brad's audience. But then I remind Brad of Brad's real friends, and Brad and me keep going for them because they always make something special happen for Brad and me to always get the attention. Brad and me are not better than you. Brad and me are just much more correct and improved. Brad is a blast to the past, which is where Brad old school uniform matching magic homebrew. Brad is a blast to the past, which is where Brad old school beneath the sea. Four guppies swimming with fishies with their faces up, trying to see what is up above, getting fed by people who drop food down to them with love, then walk away from them, laughing, not caring if they see them again. Who gives a fuck? Slang. Nobody should. It's A love thing. Clang. Like. Cupid shot an arrow at someone. With. Too hard a heart. It. Just bounced off. It. Fell to the ground. And. Broke apart. Brad walks alone. Trying. Not to fall. As. Brad slips. On tears. Brad cries. In the dark. Brad. Does. Int. See. Or. Need them. Brad always wins. Brad is sharp. And. On point. Like. The tip of pins. Brad is like a shark. Brad sees blood. And. Brad is going in. Like. A syringe. Brad is bright. Like. Christmas lights. Brad is someone. To. Look forward to. Seeing. Like. Dreaming. Of. Santa Claus. Coming. The next morning. And. That night. Getting murdered. By a crazy person. Then. Being told the truth. When. You wake up. Next. By. Jesus Christ. Brad is like. Psych. 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 And. Psych. Again. Psych. Brad is out there. Recycling. Brad is the goat. Brad. Comes home. And. Eats my can. While. I am. Shaking my hips. And. My tits. Too. On arms. Music. And. With Brad's hands. Brad gives me. A. Headbutt. Brad. Opens Brad's mouth. And. Gets Brad's tongue stuck. In. No man's land. Brad. Sets up camp. And. Makes a stand. While. Sitting in the cold. In front of a fire. Brad. Keeps going. By. Burning Brad's. Plans. Are. Big. The fire. Brad burns inside me. Will burn forever. Brad's plans. Are. Grand. Even. Brad is the reason. Smoke. Comes out of my ears. When. I hear Brad speaking. My mind. Opens up. And. I enter. Another dimension. Where. I am seeking. Something. Unknown. And. Finding something. Too scary to mention. Brad's teeth are sharp. Like. Scissors. In a hairy situation. My cunt. Is about to erupt. I am. About to lose my mind. Brad gives it. A quick trim. Brad saves it. Now. I am with Brad. Relaxing. Feeling like. Brad and me. Are on. A vacation. Every day. And. Night. With Brad. Is a. Staycation. I want Brad. To. Always stay. With me. Without Brad. Inside. I am vacant. I miss being. On my shins. Without Brad here. I can't. Take it. It's a sin. Not loving Brad. Within. My heart. Is. Where I keep him. Brad. Has been my beacon. In the dark. Lighting my way. Through life. Since my start. I knew Brad. To. Be nothing. But. A champ. The word. Winner. Should be writ. Tin. On Brad's forehead. In. Big letters. Like. A stamp. Like. It is. On my brain. Like. A tattoo. All I want. To say. Now. Is. Brad. I love. You.